Welcome to Space Erased, the NASA Fraudcast. I'm your host, Chris, and welcome back, everybody. This is going to be episode 116, and we're going to call this one the Dinosaur Conspiracy episode. It's going to be pretty sweet. I'm very excited about this. This one was actually pitched to us from a viewer, so we appreciate that. Huge thanks, and that goes out to everybody. If you have an idea for a show, let us know. We'll take care of it. Alright, so anyways, let's hop straight into the news. This week's news story comes from nasa.gov. Currently, I guess the satellite Cassini was orbiting Saturn for most of 2015 with the ring, so that would be like totally flat, looking straight at the ring. It'd be like a razor blade. You couldn't see anything. So now, apparently, it's shifted in its orbit, and it's at a little bit of an angle, so now it can take a picture at an angle of Saturn and its rings. And oh my god, you would not believe the incredible fake photo that emerged from this. So anyways, I'll put that up now. You can see that hexagon thing at the top there that the Illuminati seem to be in love with. And just some bullshit rings, and yeah. That's apparently news. So anyways, that happened, and I'll just kind of let the article scroll here in the background for a moment. But another interesting thing happened this week. We launched, finally, again, per your guys' advisement, we launched a Twitter page finally. So now you can find us at NASA_Fraudcast at Twitter here. So stop by Twitter, give us a shout, and give us a follow at NASA_Fraudcast. Check it out. Alright, so let's get into the core content of the episode. Episode 116, The Dinosaur Conspiracy. So, it all started, this whole dinosaur thing, if you will, all started with Sir Richard Owen of the Royal Society and the superintendent of the British Museum of Natural History Department, British Museum Natural History Department in 1842. Sir Richard Owen coined the name for a new class of historic animal named Dinosauria, quote unquote. So in short, the first hypothesized theory of dinosaurs originated from a man who has been knighted, museum head, right at the time in the mid-1800s when evolution was hitting its climax in popularity among the upper-class, tight-knit scientific community. Kind of reminds me, if you will, of today's climate change and how NASA is pushing all that. So you've got Obama and NASA and prominent scientists telling us that climate change is a thing. I can't do the research myself to prove it one way or another, so I guess it all kind of comes down to me having to take their word for it. So the people of the 1800s ended up doing the same. So all of this information was deduced before a single dinosaur bone had ever been discovered. And again, it's kind of like NASA today with the climate change thing. If you ask the pundits on TV and, the Bill Maher's and stuff who are convinced that there's mountains of evidence to support this idea of climate change. And you'd be crazy to not subscribe to it or buy into it. And if you're one of the people that don't buy into it, they paint it all like you're a bunch of southern hicks, from the deep south that haven't read a science textbook. I don't know, they just call you an idiot and move along. So anyways, the Masonic media at the time, again, the media has always been owned, or for at least, I would say, the majority of the lifespan of our country has been owned by these secret societies. So we'll say the Masonic-owned media here immediately began pushing this theory of dinosaurs as fact and sensationalized the idea of these prehistoric monsters walking the earth millions of years ago. As luck would have it, only 12 years later, a man named Ferdinand Vanderveer Hayden discovered the first evidence of dinosaur fossils in 1954. So 12 years later, after Sir Richard Owen proposed the idea of dinosaurs, it just so happened that somebody from that same circle of influence proved it to be true with his findings of dinosaur fossils. So what he had actually found was some miscellaneous teeth in the upper Missouri River, and they immediately considered them to be proof of Owen's theory. A few years later, another paleontologist identified them to be part of the Trachodon dinosaur, which I guess has something to do with teeth in Latin. Very fitting. Anyway, so at this time, only in the spans of about 20 years or so, the elites, or the Illuminati, if you will, originated this scientific theory, and then with the help of their own members, they were able to prove said theory by presenting evidence that was either unrelated or purely fabricated. So I guess what I mean by unrelated would be like if you found a crocodile skeleton and you misidentified it as being a dinosaur, or a chicken skeleton and misidentified it as being a dinosaur, or fabricated, meaning they just like made it. They, paper mache, and they got their art tools out and started creating falsified bones, which is, not that hard to believe. These fossils, if actually real, would have been around for thousands of years, and it's quite a coincidence that they were only discovered just a few years after the theory of their existence was conceived, which was also the time the Masonic scientific renaissance which occurred, which really birthed the idea of evolutionism. Evolutionism, of course, is a powerful concept that basically eliminates the idea of or the need for a god. And when you remove the concept of God from people's minds, a new leader or leaders can take its place. In this case, that would be like the Illuminati. And now man can become God, and that's kind of their ultimate goal. It's part of the erosion of America's core values and beliefs, right? You have to start taking each one of them out one by one, and this would be a good way to prove that the earth is millions of years old, so that it doesn't match the teachings of the Bible, which was, I guess, the commonly held beliefs at the time. So anyways, no other part of the world claimed to have discovered fossils before 1954. Not even the Native Americans who inhabited America long before our arrival. They didn't even have stories about these creatures in their cultural lore, which you would think, I always kind of thought, in Chinese old lore and teachings and things like that, you see dragons and things, and I always thought when I was younger, hey, maybe dragons were more or less dinosaurs being misidentified and being, translated into the language of their times. Something to be chewed on. Yet between the mid-1800s and the 1900s, huge treasure troves of fossils were unearthed all around the world. These places have been explored time and time again. Why hadn't anyone ever noticed any of these fossils before then? So this kind of starts digging into the mischievous nature of paleontology. In the late 1800s, two men, Edward Cope and Nathaniel Marsh, were the two leading paleontologists who made the majority of the dinosaur fossil discoveries. However, this proved to be the beginning of the fraudulent nature of this field of study, because out of the 136 dinosaur species, they claim to have found 136 dinosaur species. Out of the 136, it's proven nowadays that only 32 are currently considered to be valid species of dinosaurs. So out of 136, 32 are still considered to be valid, which means these guys fabricated a majority of their findings. And they probably publish these things in scientific journals, and people probably bought all of what they were selling. This was the result of both men destroying evidence and falsifying their findings to gain notoriety in their field, in addition to fame and fortune. Also, neither of them claimed to have ever... you know what? Actually, before I go past that, the 136 dinosaur species they claim to have discovered actually took place during something they called the Great Bone Wars, which was kind of like a gold rush, if you will. Once these dinosaur bones were found to be a thing, people went crazy and tried to find them, and they were incredibly valuable, so people went out to look for them, just like gold. So these two men kind of competed. They, I guess, started out as friends. They competed until they became mortal enemies, and in that competition, they started creating and falsifying their findings and things like that. to the tune of 104 of these things being fake. Crazy. So neither of them ever claimed to have found a complete skeleton of a dinosaur. In fact, to this day, this is a big fact to stick in your brain pocket here and hang on to. To this day, no one has ever found a complete skeleton of a dinosaur, which means all dinosaurs are reconstructions and at best educated guesses of what dinosaurs should be. In fact, now they're starting to hypothesize that most dinosaurs, including velociraptors and things that you're familiar with from Jurassic Park, were covered in feathers. They looked more like birds. And in fact, I remember in the first Jurassic Park, the main character guy with the cowboy hat was talking about, velociraptors having like a tight family kinship to birds in the bird family. So anyways, it's something I guess they haven't like hidden, they didn't try to hide, but it's there. Anyways, a man named David Wozni once wrote an interesting thought in his book about paleontology. This is me paraphrasing, but he said, "It seems a bit strange that the disinterested people like plumbers, ditch diggers, farmers, miners, people that have something to do with digging in the ground, disinterested people, rarely, if ever, find fossilized remains of dinosaurs. Whereas, on the contrary, most findings are made by people who have a vested interest in the subject, such as paleontologists, university professors, and influential figures who represent prominent museums." So, the people that have a vested interest in finding these things are the ones that are finding them, and the people that don't care never stumble across them. Seems interesting. I'm going to grab some water real quick and ponder about that. So only people that are looking for fossils can find them. So apparently these bones can only be found by those who are intentionally looking for them or who have studied them previously. In fact, most of the discoveries come from special dinosaur hunting trips and expeditions to places that have already been well explored by their native inhabitants. And in fact, the few people that ever did uncover dinosaur bones were prompted to first start looking in a certain area by these people that are well invested. It was a person of that party that influenced a common man to look in a certain place, and they found dinosaur bones in the few examples that were outside of the scholastic group of people. So to be the discovery of like the Dead Sea Scrolls, for example, makes a lot more sense, and it seems a lot more plausible. So the Dead Sea Scrolls were just like stumbled upon by a kid, and this kid didn't even like intentionally, that wasn't looking for them, just found them, and a couple years later some scholar ended up identifying them as being the Dead Sea Scrolls. And then published his findings, but they weren't, I guess my point here is they weren't discovered by, the Society to Prove the Existence of Dead Sea Scrolls Foundation. Just like pretty much all of the dinosaur bones are found by dinosaur paleontologist groups and things like that. So anyways, let's talk about the fossils themselves. I'm rambling here. Let me try to get back on a point. Many of us have been to a museum and have seen these massive monsters towering overhead. The skeletons, if you will. But did you know that most, if not all, of these skeletons are replicas made from plaster and fiberglass and resin, a few different kinds of materials? I don't even think that's hidden. I think I want to say I remember hearing on a tour guide or from a tour guide that these bones that we were looking at in the museum up in Minnesota, where I used to live, were replicas, and that what they did was they took the real bones, made copies of them, and then hid them in a safe location so nobody could steal them or damage them. So what you are seeing in the museums is all fake. It's not labeled fake, but it's all fake. I would say, if not 100%, 99% of it's fake. Also, a few bold scientists have been brave enough to stand up and say that many dinosaurs, like the T-Rex, for example, are impossible the way that they're represented, or the way that they're presented, because of their weight distribution. The way the T-Rex is laid out, you can see that about 70 to 80% of its body mass is in front of its two primary legs. So the calculations mathematically suggest that their bones would have buckled and shattered under their own weight, and the T-Rexes we see sprinting through the forest in the movies, like Jurassic Park, would have actually had to move a lot slower as to not shock their skeletons and shatter bones as they're walking. So in short, the movies are total garbage. And I don't know, I remember, I'm old enough to remember Jurassic Park when that came out, and there's a lot of people that were like, oh, this movie isn't scientifically accurate, which is like, come on, boo-hoo. It's a rant for a different time, but I'm always just like, who cares about movies having to be accurate? It's a movie. You're going to be entertained for an hour and a half. Quit complaining. It doesn't have to be science. You can go to school to learn that kind of stuff. So anyways, bottom line here is why have real authentic dinosaurs and fossils on display when replicas impress the unwitting public just the same? The weights are so far off for most of the dinosaur skeletons that they don't even stand under their own structure without some kind of scaffolding or reinforcement in the museums. So everything about them is just being propped up to just like barely exist the way that they exist. So I don't know, that covers the what, that, you know, and the history behind the situation there. Now let's go to the why. Why fake dinosaurs? It's an interesting question, and this program begs that question. Let's start with the movies. Jurassic Park, Land Before Time. These are both made by the Illuminati filmmaker Universal Studios, which is owned by Rupert Murdoch and Fox and all that, and which is also owned by the terrifyingly huge Comcast Corporation, which is completely bought and paid for by the Freemasons who control its every decision and everything it shows you on television. In fact, it kind of looks like Rupert Murdoch or Fox, then Universal, then Comcast, and then the owners of Comcast are the Masons like J.P. Morgan and the Rothschilds, who also own the Discovery Channel, which gives you pretty much the other half of your educational programming. So it's all controlled, people. And it's all controlled by a very small group of people with a very specific agenda that they're trying to push. So they do this, they make these propaganda films to get inside people's minds and control the way we think, especially how we interpret history, and in turn how we can predict the future, if you will. Especially the developing minds of children. You're seeing a lot of cartoons and a lot of programming aimed directly at children, which is under the guise of education, but it's really very sophisticated propaganda that's aimed at, getting them while they're young, basically. And, forcing their tiny, fragile minds into buying this huge ruse that they've been pulling off on all the rest of us. And we all went through the same indoctrination as well. So I don't think that any of us weren't subject to it. Especially trying to indoctrinate these kids into accepting evolutionism and atheism as early as possible, so it's just second nature to them. He who controls history controls the future. I firmly believe that, and that's a quote from somebody. I didn't find it online, but I'm sure somebody said it. Again, this is all part of the systematic, highly organized effort to brainwash the public and to slowly erode this nation's core values. And once you get rid of the core values and you start breaking people up into individuals and you tear down the family unit and things like that, people just become a lot easier to control. We all have a light up device in our hands with our faces glued to them 24/7. It's already here. And actually, this is a topic for a future episode, but I'm now starting to see a lot of news articles and news snippets from local news stations about biometrics and how they're going to be incorporating chips in our hands and probably forehead 666 stuff like that into just our regular day-to-day banking. And it's here. It's already here, but that's a fodder for a future episode there. Let's move along here. Basically, they're going to erode our core values. It's exactly how they'll make us all believe in aliens, for example. They're going to hide them in our past. I've already talked about this, I think, in a former episode, but Ancient Aliens is a show on the History Channel, and basically I feel like the purpose of that program is to convince people that aliens existed in our past. If you can convince them that they were in our past, it's really easy to convince people that they're here now or that they could come back, things like that. So they're hiding them in our past so that we can accept them today. Then they'll start the connection. Then they'll start connecting real history to like the pyramids, for example, with fake history like ETs. And then they'll force feed us this garbage until they roll out like a Project Bluebeam thing. If you guys saw my Alien Obama video, it's kind of that I really went into Project Bluebeam on that episode. But it's basically like a projection technology that would convince people that there's an alien invasion going on in the sky. It does something by, putting a signal into your ears directly into your head so that you can have like this talking to God kind of experience, and team that up with the visual of a huge, impending alien invasion, and you could scare a lot of people. So, this is all kind of a conjecture or a theory, but I think that, they'll hide the aliens in our past to convince us that they're here now. If they have to pull that move, then they'll pull out the Project Bluebeam technology and scare the crap out of all of us until everybody says we need to band together as a planet and we need one government to govern all of the governments and control what's going on this planet so we can fight back against the aliens. And the New World Order is born. So, I don't know. All that being said, to say this, paleontology is a huge scam. Look it up, folks. There's plenty of cool stuff to be found out there online. This is just kind of a surface scratcher, just a sampler platter for you of different aspects of the paleontology conspiracy. It's just really fun. I don't know. Last week I didn't think anything about this, and this week I'm kind of leaning toward that being probably the case, that this has been faked to control people's education and to rewrite history. Dinosaurs never existed. Wake up. It's time to wake up. So anyways, we got a couple minutes left of the show. Let's hop straight into Q&A. You guys had a lot of good stuff this week, so let's see that sexy Q&A graphic. All right. Jonathan Custom this week. Hey, how's it going, bud? He says, we need to keep our pimp hand strong against these deceivers and thieves, a.k.a. NASA Russian fake program, Buzzed Aldi, Terry Squirts, Mark Shilley, even past asshats like Albert Einstein and Replicas who decided the Earth was round. Time we all go Wayne Brady on them. And I nominated that as one of the best comments so far. I can't read his last. Oh, that was They Took Our Jobs. I wrote that. They Took Our Jobs been getting a little foul lately, so it's probably got to tone that down just a hair. Watch now, as soon as I said it, it's going to be terrible. But anyways, F.E. Jam says, another great show. You have to check out this scientific window. Oh, yeah, I saw this. This is awesome. Check out this link that he posted here, or he or she posted here. It's a window in the ISS that's like totally just hanging wide open, and it's like a shitty plastic window. It doesn't even look real. I mean, like the ISS doesn't even look real, but it looks like a real window in the shot that's just hanging open. It was like something they forgot to close up. I don't know. It's just another loose end that they didn't catch in their filming, and our very smart group of people out here on online here caught it. So anyways, the next thank you FE Jam for the comment. Chrono2959 says, I saw this video today that shows 6 out of the 7 astronauts still alive today, and if that was faked, think of everything else that was. That's a cool video that Chrono posted too. That's got actually a lot of really good flat earth information for people that are brand new to the subject. I highly recommend checking out that link. Thanks for the comment, Chrono. Next is MJ Wholesales. Don't fall for the same old Hegelian dialectic. Trump is part of the game. If he weren't, he would tell people the U.S. government is a corporation, but of course he won't, because he wants to be the CEO. You know, the closer we get to this election, the closer I start to believe a lot of that kind of stuff. I don't know, I was one of those people that wanted to have hope, wanted to believe that Trump might have been, the savior, but let's be real here, people. the game is rigged, so why would we ever believe, fool me once, fool me twice, fool me 40, what is it, president number 46 or some shit now, fool me 45 times or whatever. I don't think any of these guys are out there with our best interests at heart. So Trump most likely is just another one of those scam artists that's playing a game on us here. Not to say Hillary or Bernie or anybody else is any better. I think they all have their own agendas, and given the chance, if elected president, they'll all try to serve out those foul agendas, and we are screwed no matter how you cut it. Don't vote third party because you're just going to give it to Hillary too. So heads up on that. Barry White says, hey, Barry, how's it going, man? They may have found that Sirius Buzz can't pull off lying very well, so they probably demanded he be hammered if he goes on any show. That way, if he spewed the truth, well, he's drunk. How can you take him serious? The details of the LEM being too small. Very interesting stuff. That was from the last episode, the Moon episode, part 3. It's typical of all of this fraud. Our masters are clever, rich, and powerful, but they aren't the brightest bulbs on the flat Earth. Suggestions for a show? Dinosaurs are a hoax. Nuclear bombs are a hoax. Abraham Lincoln was gay. The truth about Christopher Columbus. Dude, it was Barry White that gave me the idea for this episode. So thank you, Barry White. I'm going to give you a specific thank you here, and mad props to you, sir. Thanks for the episode idea, and we'll have to do some more on the flat Earth here, or not on flat Earth, as the of course flat Earth too, but on the dinosaur thing as well, because I think that this is an onion. When you start peeling away the layers, I think we might come up with some pretty interesting stuff here. So I'm gonna hand that off to the Fraudcast team and let those guys kind of mull on it and see what they come up with. So anyways, thank you for the awesome comment, Barry White, and thanks for the awesome ideas. We might have to do a gay Abraham Lincoln episode. I don't know. It sounds like a good idea. So I'll have to see. I mean, I don't know. Every time I hear a conspiracy, I'm like, that's bullshit. And then you start looking at it, you're like, okay, I think Abraham Lincoln might be gay. I don't know. So anyways, I'm very interested in seeing what happens down that rabbit hole. John ThinkPad says, addressing Frank, quote-unquote, or other names when presenting information like it was only a paper moon was a figure of speech in the 80s and 90s as a way to convince. They don't do it anymore, and it shows that you're a youngster. First of all, I'm almost 30, so I appreciate the youngster thing. That's super nice of you, John. And actually, I'm fairly certain that if you listen to the documentary, I think he's talking to a real Frank, because there's some very specific points that Frank brings up that I don't think is just like a metaphorical person in a conversation. I think it's actually a regular dude. But you may be right. I may be wrong. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments there if you've seen it was only a paper moon. Next was, they took our jobs. He says, awesome to have you back, cunts. Man, you're dirty. You gotta clean up your mouth, man. Anyways, it is awesome to be back. And these C words are very happy to be back. Thanks for having us. Thanks for the comment, I think. They took our jobs. Gimp NASA says, the most telling interview of the astronauts is the one right after the mission. Public questions. That may be more telling than any of the evidence I've ever seen. I hold out hope we went somewhere in there, but I really doubt it. Thank you, Gimp NASA. So thanks, Gimp NASA, for the comment there. I don't know. I used to be a NASA nerd. I've said it a million times on the show. I wish that NASA was real and that space was real. But the more and more I learn about all of this, I think it's a big fraud. I think they've been taking our money for a long time. I think they've been feeding us lies, and I think that's all there is to it. Thanks for the comment, Gimp NASA. Space Camp says, have loved the broadcast since you started, man. Congrats. It shows how much time and effort you put into it. Great presentation. Keep it up. Dude, thank you so much. I don't know. It's really nice to be appreciated, because it is. It's like 6 hours an episode, and it's all free time, and I don't get paid for it, so I don't know. It's nice for the love there, so I appreciate that, Space Camp. Space Camp also writes, I hadn't seen those interviews on Late Night with Colbert featuring Buzzed All Drunk and Scam Kelly. I agree that Buzz was definitely buzzed on alcohol, but I think Steven gave him that some of that good Tony Montana to make him perk up, probably give him cocaine to be somewhat functional. That's why he has big eyes and the over-exaggerated facial expressions. Yeah, actually, that might be a good comment. That might be a good idea. he does seem like the red-eyed, tweaked out, coked out guy. So yeah, maybe they put him on some coke. Space Camp also writes, says, for the underwater lake footage you're looking for, and he includes the link. I love you, Space Camp. I've been looking for this link. Somebody else gave it to me too, so you guys are awesome. Something like that, and I'm sure you guys, if you're researchers as well, you'll find something that's a part of a different documentary that was just a snippet, and then you're like, you can never find it again, and you have no idea what documentary you saw it in. Drives this dude nuts. So anyways, thank you for that clip. I really appreciate it. Somebody told me that this guy mysteriously died not too long. Did you write it? No, I guess not. Okay. But maybe, or somebody else in the comments did, and I'll read it later on here. But anyways, thank you so much for the comments, Basecamp, and thanks for finding that link. You're awesome. The Truman Show says the underwater lake clip is here. Oh, awesome. So thank you to the Truman Show as well. Let's see. Next comment. Earth is flat. It's a fact. ETs are nothing more than demonic entities, period. There is no outer space. We haven't been beyond the biblical firmament. Jonathan Custom responds to that comment. The top extraterrestrial experts, undisputed experts for the most part, say with certainty aliens are nothing more than interdimensional spiritual beings from right here on Earth. That's pretty interesting. In fact, I've heard theories that aliens are just time travelers. They're us from the future coming back to check us out. That's interesting, too. Zern Music says, subbed, very good thoughts and perspectives. Looking forward to more shows. And looking forward to have you on as a viewer there, Zern Music. Thank you so much for the comment. Ralph Farmer says, there are pics of Trump flashing the pyramid sign, the Freemason handshake, so I doubt we have an ally. And I said, I'm still hoping for the best, but you and I both know that you're probably right. So thanks, Ralph Farmer. Yeah, actually, you had a good couple of comments, I think, if I remember right. And so thanks for all the comments here if I don't catch you on another one. John Huron says, I get the feeling our elites, quote unquote, are not as intelligent as they think they are. Time to stop believing what they say and search for the truth ourselves. If they choose to hide things, we must cut their funding and tell them they don't get a penny until they learn to be truthful. Treat them like the naughty children they are, but don't hold your breath. Thanks for the comment, John Huron. That's an awesome idea. We control the money, so we control them. That video is from Deimos Horizon 77, titled Lake at the Bottom of the Ocean. Also, the guy died suddenly a short time later. So it's Ralph Farmer that had the comment about the guy that died right after finding the lake at the bottom of the ocean. Very cool stuff. That's probably an episode right there. I'll have to get into that later. Stephen Nikoloff says, great episode. Here, this will be our last comment. It isn't so easy to have such a great channel like this one when you speak of only the truth from your heart. Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Maybe this is the thing that no one teaches you nowadays. By the way, congrats on your proposal. Yeah, I got engaged with Rachel from the show here, so we're really happy and we're really excited. No date set yet, but I don't know. When we find out, I'll let you guys know. We're both super excited and very happy. Off topic, I just had our Eureka moment, Stephen Nikoloff says. I know how to debunk the globe in 1 minute using only Google and Wikipedia for info about the Nile River. The river is 6,853 kilometers long, which is the length of one Earth's hemisphere. If anybody shows me how the water bends in the form of arch in the picture or video, let me know. If it's real, I may go back to the globe theory. That's an awesome idea, and we should get some people in the comment section in here on that. If it's long enough to equal one Earth hemisphere, then yeah, I would have to bend at some point, and it would have to be a radical bend. Here, I'll give the last one to Demethyl Trip with me. Booze all drunk and buzzed on gin. There you go. Anyways, thank you so much, guys, for commenting this week. As always, we highly encourage you to stop by and check us out on Facebook. Give us a like and definitely like our page. Sorry, I'm like in 1990s Friendster mode here. But like our Facebook page, stop on by and check out the information there. You never get left out in the dark when we have a blackout and don't do episodes for a while. We always keep everybody up to date on Facebook. That's how you communicate with us. It's a good way to have a good back and forth conversation. And you can always message us and things like that. And we're pretty good about getting back same day. Anyways, Two, if you want to help out our channel here on YouTube, very easy to do. Just give us a thumbs up below the video here and click subscribe to be right on top of all of our up-to-date video releases. You get them right as they come out, and you're right there current with everything we're doing. So that's an awesome way to stay up to date with everything. And it doesn't cost anything, so just give us a like and a view and your subscription, and it would be much appreciated. Totally free, and it's a huge help to help us grow as a channel here. If you have sensitive information, want to send us an email, please send us an email to nasafraudcast@gmail.com. That's nasafraudcast@gmail.com. And we're pretty good at responding there too. I've had a lot of really cool personal exchanges with people, getting to know different viewers of the show. We got some super smart people that watch the show, and I love that. That's my favorite part about this. It's just creating a community of really brilliant, bright people, and we're all coming together for a common goal to find the truth. Nothing makes me happier. And our new site is on Twitter at NASA_Fraudcast. Check us out there at NASA_Fraudcast. Yeah, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, send us an email, give us a thumbs up on YouTube and a subscription, and we'll be best friends forever. Guys, my name's Chris. I'm your host. It was fantastic as always. Have a good night, and we will catch you next week.